Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're starting a deep dive that is intensely personal.
It really is.
And often, a bit painful to look back on, and I think it's long overdue for a lot of us. We're taking on one of the heaviest topics in finance. The mistakes we made, or maybe the mistakes we wish anyone had stopped us from making when we were 20 years old.
That's the key, isn't it? The lack of guidance.
Exactly. I think every single person listening, it doesn't matter where you are financially today, has at some point said those three words, I wish I knew.
Absolutely. I wish I knew then what I know now.
It's universal.
So today, our mission is to be that voice. The voice of wisdom, the kind, but, firm guide that your younger self just desperately needed. We want to lift that burden of shame, help you feel seen in those past struggles, and most importantly, equip you with real, actionable knowledge for the future. And it's so essential that we approach this with compassion. I know for a fact, personally, I committed, probably every single blunder we're going to talk about today between the ages of maybe 18 and 25.
A single one.
And the shame I felt back then was just immense because I truly believed I was the only one that is uniquely irresponsible. So if we can serve as that mentor today, if we can help just one person realize they are not broken, they were just untaught, then this whole deep dive will be a success. We're here to offer guidance, not judgment.
I really appreciate that focus because judgment is the last thing anyone needs when they're already feeling overwhelmed. So let's start right at the core of the problem. Why is 20 such a dangerous age when it comes to money?
Yeah.
Why are young adults so financially vulnerable even when they feel like they have everything else figured out?
Well, 20 is a financial pressure cooker. It's this messy, fascinating paradox. On one hand, you feel independent. You might be living on your own. You're working, making your own choices. You feel fully grown.
Right, you're an adult.
But financially, you are completely blindfolded. You're stepping into these huge adult commitments, rent, debt, credit, with what is essentially, and this is the important part, a teenager's brain, structurally speaking.
And that isn't just an observation, right? That's not just a feeling. It's rooted in some pretty critical, confirmed neuroscience.
It is. We know for a fact that the prefrontal cortex, that's the part of the brain that manages all the important executive functions, like risk assessment, long-term planning, delaying gratification, impulse control.
All the things you need for money management.
All of them. And that part of the brain is still very much under construction. It doesn't fully mature until your mid-20s, sometimes even later. So we are asking a 20-year-old to manage these complex, high-stakes financial tools, like a credit card with a 25% APR, when the very mechanism in their brain designed to evaluate that 5-year cost is, well, it's still developing.
So the system is basically asking them to calculate this really complex future risk without giving them the necessary equipment to do it.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And it's compounded by the fact that those high-stakes decisions, they all start right around age 20.
Absolutely. Think about the sudden onslaught of it.
Yeah.
You're signing your first independent lease agreement. You're dealing with utility deposits, getting your first car loan, often with just terrible terms because you have no credit history.
Oh, the worst terms.
And then there's the most insidious entry point, the credit card. It's often just waved in front of you in a department store or on a college campus, promising instant gratification with that, 10% off your purchase today.
Yes. And if the internal brain structure isn't ready for that, the external pressure is just relentless. You've got peer pressure, social pressure, and this massive cultural amplification from platforms like Instagram and TikTok, all screaming that you should look successful right now.
The comparison game is lethal at this age.
Yeah.
It is. Young adults are just constantly bombarded with these perfectly curated images of their peers who are traveling or wearing expensive clothes or enjoying what looks like endless dinners out.
Looks effortless.
It does. And the inherent desire is not to feel left behind. It's not even necessarily about conscious financial irresponsibility. It's about a deep, often really painful desire to belong, to not be seen as the broke friend.
That fear of being the broke friend, or even just having to admit you're struggling financially, that's the engine, isn't it? It drives a very common and very destructive coping mechanism.
It leads directly to the fatal lie. The silent permission slip we all grant ourselves just to survive the moment. It's that little voice that says, it's fine, I'll figure it out later.
I have said that so many times.
We all have. And that phrase, it allows the 20-year-old to buy the round of drinks, to get the newest phone, to swipe the credit card for something they absolutely do not need. And they genuinely believe they will have the maturity, the income, and the focus to fix it all in the future.
But what happens when later finally shows up?
Well, later arrives as years later. Suddenly you're 28, maybe 30, and you're drowning in five-figure debt that started with just a casual string of small purchases and minimum payments you made when you were 19 or 20.
Wow.
And you realize that your current financial stress didn't begin with some huge crisis. It began with these small, seemingly irrelevant choices you made when you were psychologically and emotionally just ill-equipped to handle the consequences.
Yeah.
And that realization is profoundly painful.
Okay, so let's hold that pain gently for a moment and acknowledge that many of our listeners are probably facing that exact realization right now. We need to jump into the first major mistake, one that truly defines the difference between financial peace and chronic stress. We'll begin with mistake number 1, the silent, slow destroyer of early financial stability, the erosion of small expenses. It's the king of tiny costs that young people universally, and I mean universally, dismiss.
Yeah, this one is so often overlooked because each individual purchase seems so insignificant. We're talking about the daily coffee habit, the constant reliance on DoorDash or other food delivery apps, the impulse buys at the checkout line.
Oh, the Target checkout line is a trap.
It's a financial trap. And the forgotten digital subscriptions that are just quietly draining $12.99 here, $8.99 there. And yes, the classic I'm just running into Target for toothpaste trip that somehow results in an $80 bill for novelty items and snacks.
The individual $5 or $10 feels like nothing. It's liquid, it's disposable. If the money is gone, you think, oh, well, I'll just wait until the next paycheck. But the real mistake here isn't the amount itself, is it? It's the psychological wiring you're establishing.
Exactly. The psychological impact is what truly matters. By habitually engaging in these tiny, impulsive purchases, you are shaping your fundamental money identity. You are literally training your brain to associate comfort, temporary reward, and stress relief with immediate spending. You're cementing a pattern of automatic consumption.
And why does that habit make saving so much harder, even later on when your income actually increases?
Because if spending is your brain's automatic default setting, then saving has to be a manual, constant act of resistance. It's like swimming upstream.
Right.
If your brain is trained to spend $5 to $10 without a second thought multiple times a day, when you then try to save, it feels unnatural. It feels restrictive and painful.
You're fighting your own programming.
You are. You're trying to break an entrenched habit, and that is one of the hardest things for the human brain to do. So that tiny habit of spending, not the expense itself, is what makes saving feel impossible later in life.
We need to give the listener a really visceral understanding of how these small expenses stack up over time. Let's do the numbers lesson, but let's connect it to a clear opportunity cost.
Okay, let's walk through the power of stacking. Imagine you're making a pretty modest $5 impulsive purchase every single day. That could be a coffee, a snack, a small in-app purchase. That $5 doesn't feel like anything in the moment.
Nope, gone.
But over 30 days, that's $150, which means $1,800 is just vanishing from your account every single year.
$1,800 a year, just gone. And this is where that time horizon problem we talked about, the one that's so prevalent at 20, becomes so dangerous, they're only looking at next Friday's paycheck.
Right. But if you maintain that $150 a month habit for just 5 years, let's say from age 20 to 25, you've spent $9,000.
$9,000.
And that is money that you likely cannot even point to now. You don't have $9,000 worth of durable goods. That money paid for momentary comfort that has long since faded.
So if that money hadn't just evaporated, what could $9,000 actually represent to a 25-year-old?
Oh, it could represent several massive life-changing things. It could be a safety net of 3 to 6 months of emergency savings, which would completely eliminate that debilitating fear of the unexpected.
A flat tire, a medical bill.
Exactly. Or it could be the down payment on a reliable used vehicle, saving you from transportation stress or high insurance costs. Or, and this is potentially the most profound, if that $9,000 had been invested over those 5 years and just allowed to compound, it would already be earning money for you, setting up a trajectory toward true wealth. You're not just spending $5, you're spending the future growth, of that $5.
And that concept, spending the future growth, is exactly why the young brain struggles so much with this. At 20, the future self is this vague, abstract stranger. So how do we make that time horizon feel real?
I think we have to reframe delayed gratification. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You're not saying no to the $5 coffee because you hate coffee. You're saying yes to the future you who needs a month's rent covered during a job transition.
Or the future you who wants to travel without going into debt.
Or the future you who just desperately needs peace of mind. The decision is always between fleeting comfort now and enduring peace later.
That brings us perfectly to the next segment, because while these small leaks drain the boat slowly, the next mistake is the one that sinks it, and sinks it quickly with massive interest rates. Let's talk about the credit conundrum. Okay, let's dive into mistake number 2. High interest debt, the silent destroyer we mentioned earlier. This is the mechanism that really locks that debt cycle in place for years, sometimes decades.
This is where the lack of financial education in our schools truly hurts. The trap is just perfectly set by financial institutions. I remember the lure so clearly.
Yeah.
The 20% off today's purchase if you sign up for our store card.
Yes, every single store.
They market that immediate benefit aggressively. They do not market the 25.99% annual percentage rate, or APR, that's buried deep in the fine print.
And that high interest, it's designed to be mathematically devastating, isn't it?
It is. Young people just don't understand that 25% APR is a massive fee that applies to the entire remaining balance, and it compounds every single day. If you only pay the minimum payment, you are ensuring the bank makes the absolute maximum profit off of your lack of awareness.
Okay, let's break down the mechanism of minimum payments, because this is probably the single most critical piece of knowledge a 20-year-old needs to understand about consumer debt. Minimum payments are not a sign of responsibility.
No, they are the financial institution's primary tool for sustained profit. It's simple math. Let's say you owe $3,000 at 25% interest. Your minimum payment might be something like $60.
Okay.
When you send in that $60, the interest that has accrued since your last payment, which could be $50, maybe $55, gets paid first. The bank takes its cut first. You're only applying $5 or $10, if you're lucky, to the actual principal balance of $3,000.
So this means you could spend years making every single payment perfectly on time, feeling like you're being responsible, while your debt balance barely moves at all. You are essentially just paying rent on the money you borrowed.
It is a slow, invisible form of debt slavery. Many people spend 5, 6, 7 years paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, only to find their balance is still $2,800. They've paid thousands in interest just to keep the bank happy. We, as a society, fail to teach this fundamental equation. We teach them how to dissect a frog, but not the simple math of how a 25% interest rate guarantees the lender decades of income from them.
It's infuriating. So if we could give our 20-year-old selves one core debt maxim, a rule to live by, what would it be?
Debt is a tool. It is not a toy. If you do not understand the mechanism, the interest rate, and the repayment schedule, it will control your life. Do not touch high-interest debt for depreciating assets like clothes or takeout or concert tickets. Only use it when you have the plan and the absolute guarantee to pay it off in full before that interest ever accrues.
That sets a really strong boundary. Now let's pivot to the flip side of this credit conundrum, which is mistake number 4. Avoiding credit entirely. This happens a lot because of the horror stories we just talked about.
It's a very understandable fear. People see debt destroy lives and they think, well, the safest route is just to have no credit whatsoever, cash only. But in the modern American financial infrastructure, avoiding credit is just as dangerous as misusing it.
Why is a credit score? I mean, it's just a number. Why is it so pervasive in our lives?
Because credit is used as a proxy. It's a shortcut for financial reliability and trustworthiness. Your credit score is tied to everything. And we're not just talking about mortgages or big loans. We're talking about basic life necessities.
Right.
Do you want to rent an apartment? They check your credit. Do you want the best rate on your car insurance? They check your credit. Do you want to avoid paying massive deposits for utilities or a new phone plan? They check your credit. You need a good score just to participate normally in adult life.
So if you wait until you are, say, 25 or 28 to start building that history, what position does that put you in when you finally need it?
It puts you at an extreme disadvantage. When you finally need that credit, maybe for a medical emergency, or to replace a dying car, or to finally rent a place on your own, you have what's called a thin file. You have no history.
No track record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you are forced into bad options, high deposits, predatory lenders, or interest rates that are far, far worse than the 25% we just criticized. The key is you must start building credit when you don't need it, so that it's ready and strong when you do.
So for the listener who has been, paralyzed by this fear, what is the simple, low-stakes, actionable first step? How do they dip their toe in the water without the risk of drowning?
We recommend the secured card route. A secured credit card is a perfect training wheel for building credit. You deposit your own money, let's say $200 with the bank, which then serves as your collateral.
So it's secured by your own cash.
Exactly. The bank then gives you a credit limit equal to that deposit. You are literally borrowing against your own money, which eliminates the bank's risk and makes it incredibly easy to qualify, even with zero credit history.
That deposit is the collateral. So if I default on my payment, the bank just takes the $200 I already gave them.
Precisely. It's a mechanism of safety. You are building a credit history without any of the risk of massive debt. The simplest, most effective advice we can give is this. Use that secured card for one predictable, small monthly expense. Your $15 streaming service or a tank of gas. Use it, let the statement close, and then pay it off in full immediately.
And why is paying it off in full so critical? I mean, beyond just avoiding interest, it also relates to a key factor in your credit score, right?
Yes, the utilization ratio. This is a crucial concept to grasp. Your credit utilization ratio is simply how much debt you currently owe compared to your total available credit limit. It accounts for nearly 30% of your credit score.
Wow, that's a huge chunk.
It is. So if your secured card has a $200 limit and you charge $190 to it, your utilization is 95%. That signals high risk to the credit bureaus, and it severely damages your score.
So even if you pay it off perfectly on time, having that high utilization can hurt you?
Absolutely. The goal is to keep your utilization low, ideally below 30% and optimally below 10%. If your limit is $500, you only want a balance of $50 to report. By using the card for one small expense and paying it off immediately, you report a low utilization rate month after month, establishing a strong, healthy pattern. This simple, boring consistency is the secret to building a stellar credit score by the time you're 25.
That is fantastic practical detail. Okay, moving from the mechanics of credit, let's talk about mistake number 3, which is pure mindset. It's that lie that says, I'll save later, or that saving is about income, not identity. Let's really confront the great rationalization of our early 20s. Mistake number 3, the belief that I'll save when I make real money.
Ugh, this is such a devastating self-deception. I use this one myself, constantly, to justify spending everything I made. I'd say, I'm only making $9 an hour, or I'm a starving student, I can barely afford ramen noodles. The implication is that saving is a luxury reserved for the affluent.
When you have extra money lying around.
Right. But the crucial understanding we need to convey here is that saving is not primarily about the dollar amount you start with. It is about the habit and the identity you establish. When you purposefully redirect even $5 into a savings account, even if your total account balance is low, you are teaching your brain a powerful new principle.
What's that principle?
You're teaching your brain, I am a person who keeps my money. I protect my resources. I prioritize my future self.
And if you wait until you get that mythical real job that pays 6 figures, you might be 30, maybe 35, and you've missed out on the only financial asset that truly matters when you're young.
Time.
Time
is the financial magic bullet. And this is where we really need to spend a moment on the concept of compound interest. It's so often taught just mathematically, which makes it sound boring, but it should really be taught as a natural force, like gravity or momentum.
Let's use the most effective analogy for compounding, the snowball effect.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you are rolling a small snowball, that's your initial savings, down a very, very long hill. At age 20, that hill is incredibly long, and the snow, which is the interest you earn, is light. But the deeper that snowball rolls down the hill, the more snow it picks up. And pretty soon, the snow it's picking up starts picking up its own snow.
The interest starts earning interest.
That's compounding. The earlier you start rolling that snowball, the longer the runway you give it to grow into an avalanche.
Okay, now let's contrast the power of starting early versus waiting, because this is where it gets really dramatic.
Let's say a 20-year-old begins saving just $100 a month. They do that for 10 years. And then at age 30, they stop saving entirely. They don't add another penny. That initial investment will still grow dramatically over the next 35 years because of that incredible time advantage.
Okay.
Now compare that to the person who waits until age 30, believing they need to earn more first. If they start saving that same $100 a month at age 30 and continue all the way until retirement, they will likely have less money than the person who started and stopped 10 years earlier.
That's insane. How is that possible?
Because the 20-year-old's money had 10 extra years of that compounding runway.
Yeah.
That first decade of investing is exponentially more valuable than the last decade because it has the longest possible time to earn interest on its own interest.
That is the single most important message for anyone in their 20s listening right now. Starting with $50 now is far more powerful than starting with $500 in 5 years.
Yes. The mindset gap is bridged when you finally realize that your future self is not some stranger you owe money to. Your future self is the person who will be tired, who will want flexibility, who will crave peace, and who desperately needs choices. Saving early is the highest act of compassion you can perform for the person you will inevitably become. It protects that future self from the crushing scarcity that comes from procrastination.
You're not just saving money, you're buying future optionality. That is a massive paradigm shift. Let's pivot now to the deeply social and emotional mistakes that drain young wallets. Mistake number 6. Spending money to impress people who fundamentally don't matter in the long run.
This one is pure self-esteem. Well, pure insecurity, really, masquerading as consumption. When you are 20 and maybe you're insecure about your place in the world or your career path, you use money as a mask. It's an attempt to hide the cracks in the foundation of your confidence.
How does that look in practice?
You buy the trendy clothes, you insist on picking up the entire bar tab for everyone, you always suggest the most expensive restaurants for group dinners. And why? To appear successful, effortlessly cool, or just to fit in.
It's that insecurity driving the entire cycle. The fear of being judged for being poor or for struggling is often way more powerful than the fear of going into debt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the painful truth I discovered later is that all the money I spent attempting to buy social acceptance was entirely wasted. I look back at the people I prioritized impressing. The fleeting dates, the temporary work friends, and I realized they won't even remember the details of my outfit or who paid for that round of drinks 3 years from now. None of those surface-level relationships stayed in my life.
That is such a crucial point. Let's just spend a moment on that. You are incurring real, enduring financial obligations like debt and lost savings potential for relationships that are fundamentally temporary and transactional.
The math just doesn't add up. The reward, which is a momentary ego boost, is tiny compared to the cost, which is long-term financial stress. If I could go back and tell my younger self one ultimate rule about money, it would be this. Your future self is the only person you should be trying to impress with your money choices.
I love that.
When you save, when you invest, when you say no to that fleeting impulse, you are demonstrating genuine commitment to the person who truly, truly matters. The older, wiser, deserving version of you.
That shifts the moral compass entirely. Now let's pair that external pressure with internal vulnerability, which leads directly to our next one, mistake number 7, trusting the wrong people with your money.
Yeah, 20-year-olds are often so trusting, so open, and so eager for connection, which unfortunately makes them prime targets for manipulation, especially by people who have less defined moral boundaries. They just haven't developed the necessary cynicism yet to protect themselves financially.
And this manipulation can manifest in some really insidious ways, as your sources detail, often in dating or even close roommate situations.
Oh, the dating example is classic and so painful. The partner who constantly forgets their wallet, or who demands a certain level of lifestyle that you are then forced to fund. Then, when you finally try to establish a financial boundary, they immediately resort to guilt tripping.
What does that sound like?
Oh, so you're being selfish now, or you're so cheap, or I guess you just don't care about our relationship. At 20, you mistake that generosity for love or responsibility. You believe that financing a relationship is a sign of commitment, when in fact it's a sign that you are being used.
And it extends beyond dating.
For sure, it extends to roommates who borrow money for rent and never repay it, or friends who pressure you into these expensive bachelorette trips or weekend getaways that you've explicitly stated you cannot afford.
When you're young and you're desperate to fit in, those moments of pressure can feel absolutely impossible to overcome. The ultimate failure isn't really a lack of money, but a lack of boundaries.
Precisely. The core failure is not knowing how to say the word no with confidence, without apologizing, and without allowing the resulting guilt trip to compromise your finances. When you fail to set a boundary, you are failing to protect both your present bank account and your long-term stability. Saying no is a financial defense mechanism.
So what does a good no sound like in that moment when you're 20 and your friend is pressuring you to buy expensive concert tickets you can't afford?
It needs to be firm and final, but it can still be kind, not, oh, I would, but I can't, because that just leaves room for negotiation.
It's an opening.
It is. It should be something like, that sounds amazing, but my budget for entertainment this month is already set, so I have to pass. Or even simpler, no, that's not something I can afford right now. You don't owe them a detailed explanation of your savings goals or your rent bill. You only owe yourself protection. Boundaries are the armor you wear against financial compromise.
Boundaries protect your peace. It's a great adult skill that just happens to have massive financial benefits. We've covered habits, debt, identity, and social pressure. Now we move into the proactive segment, building wealth and career mobility. Let's start with mistake number 8, the fear of the unknown. The belief that investing is only for the rich.
This is such a huge psychological barrier, and it's built on years of cultural misinformation. When I was 20, the word investing just felt completely inaccessible. It sounded like high finance, complex formulas, and it seemed like it required a huge lump sum of capital to even start.
Right. The perception is that it's only for people in suits or for people who inherited money, not for someone working 3 part-time jobs and barely making rent.
Exactly. And that fear that it's too complicated, too risky, or that it requires too much starting capital is what paralyzes young people. It makes them miss out on the most valuable years of their financial lives. They let that fear steal their time advantage.
And that time advantage, as we've established, is everything. The goal then has to be to demystify investing, to show that it doesn't have to be complicated or scary.
For sure. The younger you are, the more powerful even tiny consistent investments become, thanks again to the magic of compounding.
So for a 20-year-old who's just starting, who's intimidated by brokerages and stock markets, what is the simple, non-scary place to start?
You start small and you make it boring. The very first stop should be a Roth IRA. That stands for Individual Retirement Arrangement. The Roth IRA is your best friend when you're young because it allows you to put money in today, and then when you retire decades from now, all of the gross is 100% tax-free.
So you pay the tax now?
You pay the tax now when you're in a low tax bracket, so you don't have to pay it later when your wealth is hopefully massive.
Yeah.
It's an incredible advantage designed specifically for young, low-income earners.
Okay, so they open a Roth IRA. What do they put in it? What do they invest in?
They put in a simple, low-cost index fund. Forget about trying to pick the next Amazon or Tesla stock. That's gambling, not investing. Index funds are just baskets of investments like the S&P 500 that track the performance of the entire market. They are automatically diversified and historically very reliable. The simplest advice is to invest consistently in a broad market index fund.
So you're not trying to beat the market, you're just trying to be the market.
Exactly. And we need to stress this phrase, boring investing is what creates wealth. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to check it every day. You need to contribute what you can afford, even if it's $25 or $50 a month, and then forget about it for 20 years. That is the winning formula.
I love that boring reframing. It removes all the stressful performance anxiety. Okay, let's connect this wealth building to career progression with mistake number 9, staying stuck in low-paying jobs for too long.
This is another massive financial mistake, and it's also rooted in fear and, frankly, misplaced loyalty. Young adults often stay in low-paying or stagnant jobs. The first job they got out of college or the retail job they've held for years because it feels secure. They know the routine, they know the boss, and they have this paralyzing fear that they are not qualified for anything better. So they settle.
And while they are staying put, valuing that loyalty, their peers are making these significant financial strides by leaving the company they started with.
That is the crucial observation. Loyalty, especially in the first 5 to 10 years of your career, is almost never rewarded financially by your existing employer. If a 24-year-old stays at the same company for 3 years, they might get a 3% annual cost of living increase, if they're lucky.
Right.
But the data shows that job hopping every 2 to 3 years in your 20s results in salary increases of 10%, 15%, sometimes even 20% by establishing a higher baseline every single time you move.
So we need to give young adults the permission and really the courage to internalize this counterintuitive truth about early career movement.
The biggest raise you will ever get does not come from your current boss. It comes from switching jobs, from leveraging your skills in a new environment. Staying loyal out of comfort or fear is one of the most financially detrimental mistakes you can make in your 20s. It cements a lower earning potential for the rest of your life.
But how do they overcome that fear? The fear of applying for a job they feel only 50% qualified for, and how do they negotiate that raise when they do switch?
First, they have to realize that job descriptions are wish lists from the employer, not strict requirements. Apply anyway. The absolute worst they can say is no, and you just got valuable practice interviewing. Second, negotiating is essential. You must not accept the first number they offer you.
Never take the first offer.
Never. Research your value using tools like Glassdoor or LinkedIn Salary. When they give you an offer, you respond calmly and confidently by saying something like, "Thank you so much for this offer. Based on my research of industry standards for this role and my unique skill set, I was hoping to see a figure closer to a number that is 10% higher."
It's scary to say that.
It's terrifying, but that simple statement very often results in a better salary, which immediately accelerates your wealth-building potential. Your advantage in your 20s is your ability to learn, to move fast, and to be cheap to train compared to a 40-year-old expert. Do not undersell that value.
Don't settle and don't let fear dictate your ceiling. We have reached our final mistake, and this is the one that touches the deepest emotional wounds of all. Our final major mistake, mistake number 10, is profoundly tied to shame and vulnerability. It's simply not asking for help.
This one is the secret, silent weight that so many young adults carry. The pressure to appear successful, confident, and independent leads to this intense burden of silence. I remember meticulously hiding my overdraft fee notices, pretending I could afford to go out when I couldn't, keeping my credit card debt a complete secret from my family and friends.
Why? What were you afraid of?
I worried that admitting financial struggle meant admitting some kind of moral failure, that I was bad or lazy or stupid.
And that secrecy, it creates this self-reinforcing cycle, doesn't it? You hide the problem, which means you can't get any input to fix the problem, which makes the problem worse, which increases the shame, which makes you hide it even more.
It is the loneliness of financial struggle. But the truth, the absolute liberating truth, is that asking for help is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of wisdom and strength. It is the willingness to be vulnerable enough to say, "I don't know, but I am willing to learn." It means prioritizing your progress over your ego.
We need to remind the listener that help doesn't necessarily mean asking for money. It comes in these other critical, informational, and emotional forms.
Precisely. Help can be purely emotional. It can be saying to a trusted friend, "I'm struggling with the pressure of feeling broke, and I just need to talk about it without being judged." It can be informational. "Dad, can you sit down with me and explain what a 401k is, or how to read an insurance policy?"
Or it can be practical.
Exactly. Highly supportive and practical, like, "Can you help me negotiate a better rate with my credit card company? Or can you proofread my resume for a better paying job?"
When you're 20 and you're feeling that isolation, it's just so hard to imagine that anyone would actually want to help you.
But most people do. Most people who have survived the early financial hurdles of adult life, they recognize the inherent difficulty of the system. They want to see the next generation succeed. You are not a burden to them. You are simply a human being learning how to survive a system that nobody ever taught you how to navigate. Choosing to break that silence and ask for guidance is the very first act of healing. It's strength, not failure.
Thank you for sharing that deeply personal realization, that sense of relief, that forgiveness for past secrecy is what gives all the mechanical knowledge we've just shared its true power. Before we synthesize our key takeaways, we want to invite you, our listener, into a final moment of rest and healing. This is the guided compassion moment where we talk directly to that scared younger self.
If you can, just take a slow, intentional breath in through your nose. Hold that breath for just a moment and release it slowly through your mouth. Allow the tension in your jaw, your shoulders, and your stomach to soften just a little bit.
Now, I want you to visualize your 20-year-old self. See them clearly. They might be sitting at a desk late at night, totally overwhelmed by bills, maybe hiding a credit card statement in a drawer, trying desperately to look confident and capable to the outside world. But inside, they're exhausted, they're lost, and they're filled with shame. Notice the fear they are too embarrassed to talk about.
And just acknowledge the incredible pressure they are carrying. The social pressure, the work pressure, the financial uncertainty. See the confusion in their eyes, but also try to recognize the resilience and the hope they still possess for a better life.
Now imagine walking up to that younger version of yourself. Gently place a hand on their shoulder. Let your touch communicate kindness, understanding, and non-judgmental acceptance. And whisper this compassionate message to them.
Listen to me. You are not stupid. You are neither irresponsible. You are not inherently behind. You are not broken or a failure.
You are navigating a complex, often predatory financial system that was never explained to you. You were never taught the rules of this game, and none of this truly is your fault.
But I'm here now. I see your struggle. I understand your fear. And together, with this new knowledge and this new intention, we are going to build something better starting today.
And just feel the weight of that forgiveness lift. Allow that compassion to flow through the image of your younger self, giving them the permission they never had to finally set down that heavy, heavy burden. As we conclude this intensive deep dive, let's distill everything down into 5 core actionable truths, a compass, really, that you can carry forward from this day on, regardless of your current financial situation.
Truth number 1, start small. The habit of consistent saving or investing is exponentially more important than the amount you start with. Focus on building the identity over the income.
Truth number 2, start early. Time is the greatest, most powerful, and utterly irreplaceable financial advantage you possess. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect job. Start now.
Truth number 3, start messy. You do not need to have the perfect budget, the perfect job, or the perfect plan all mapped out. Imperfect action today will always beat perfect procrastination tomorrow.
Truth number 4, start even if you're scared. That feeling of fear means that the action matters. And the courage to act despite the fear is the source of all real change and all real growth.
And finally, truth number 5, start because your future self deserves peace. Every dollar saved, every boundary set is a protective act for the person you will one day become.
That synthesis is incredibly powerful. Thank you for walking us through these tough but necessary lessons with such direction and so much compassion. This conversation provides not just knowledge, but I think genuine healing.
Thank you. And remember, the purpose of acknowledging these past mistakes is not to dwell on them, it's to use them as fuel for informed action going forward. You are equipped now.
And to all of you listening, thank you for showing up today, for choosing to learn, for choosing to heal, and for choosing to grow. You deserve a financial life that feels safe, that feels stable, and that offers you genuine choice. You deserve peace. Let's leave you with one final thought, building on that idea of optionality. Your current financial choices are not defining your inherent worth as a person. They are simply determining your future optionality, your ability to choose peace, to choose freedom, to choose work that you love, or to leave a situation that is toxic. Consider this fact. The hardest part of growing up financially is admitting that nobody prepared you for any of this. By choosing to seek out this knowledge and implementing even one small change today, you are already healing that generational lack of guidance. You are already making a profound choice for a radically better future.